Okay, so I'm gonna just explain a few more things about what my grandpa taught me. So, like, one of the things was this is the type of stuff that confused me. So I remember, like, this is like 2018, 2019 time. I asked my Grandpa, what do you think about the reason why they done studies and women or little girls tend to gravitate toward like dolls, but boys tend to gravitate toward cars and weapons and stuff. And the thesis is because boys are just biologically, genetically more inclined toward doing as opposed to women who are more inclined toward caring. So I'm asking my grandpa, what do you think about that? And I'm thinking he might say, well, there's differences. But my grandpa says, well, I think that that's more probably environment and probably because the parents push them more toward that. So again, this is what's confusing me. So I'm like, okay, so are you a leftist? Are you saying it's environment? I don't understand. This is why my grandpa just confused me so much. So I'm like, well, but again, my grandpa would say he doesn't believe anything because he says belief is just shaped by the ego. You get inspiration. For him, it's just you want to transcend all beliefs and get inspiration. You want to transcend the ego so you can have inspiration. But at the time, I didn't understand that. So I'm like, okay, so you're a leftist. You think that it's environment, and you think that boys and girls are the same, but it's just the parents that create the differences. But even though like there isn't a lot of evidence for that, apparently a lot of the evidence points that it is genetic. So my grandpa would say, well, yeah, there might, because I told my grandpa, well, there's been studies that show brain differences, physical brain differences between men and women, and that women's brains are more connective, which might indicate that they're more socially oriented. And then as opposed to men's who are more like doing oriented. And my grandpa was like, well, because there is differences, but my grandpa would be like, but regardless, it doesn't matter. Don't care about the genetics. If you think about your genes, then you just resign to that. All you do is you upgrade your software and you go all out. Now, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, well that's kind of like right wing because it's kind of like, okay, just go all out, just work hard. That's right wing, and upgrade your software. Now I understand it means transcend dualistic software and stuff. Okay, but at the same time, you acknowledge differences. So like I remember too, like I asked my grandpa, what do you think about the fact that women and men are separated in Orthodox Jewish, where the men are in one area and the women are in the other area? And my grandpa was like, he's like, well, that could entrenched dualistic software where you believe that there's such thing as man and woman when really everything is energy. There is no thing. There is no gay. There is no, according to my grandpa, Jesus says there is no Greek or there is no Jew nor Greek. There is no male nor female. And he would say everything is energy. Dr. Hoare would say everything's an illusion, possibly like a dream. But so my grandpa sort of confused me. So I'm like, okay, so we shouldn't separate. But my grandpa would be like, but also it could be a ritual. If it's done, because I said, well, they say it's done so that men aren't distracted by the women and sexually and stuff. My grandpa was like, well, that a lot of that depends on software. You don't have to be distracted by the women. But my grandpa said it could be a ritual if it is designed to keep people from engaging in self-confirmatory sexual behaviors and stuff like that. And also it also could be a possible ritual to demonstrate that we are not all the same, that there is differences, and to protect people from the illusion that everything is the same, everything is equal, when there is differences. If you're in the flow, you can discern that. So, but regardless, so my grandpa's confused me. I'm like, oh, are you a leftist? Or are you right? He seemed right wing, but at the same time, he seemed kind of leftist. And like I said, I asked my grandpa, well, what about like globalism or like communism? And my grandpa said, yes, you could. That in the flow, there's no formula, so you could use communism if people have a high enough level of software. Then communism could work. There is no formula. So I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to understand my grandpa's teachings. And then and like I said, I started playing basketball with Compton College, and I first started playing with the University of Los Angeles, and as I said, I went to one of the games. We had a game earlier that day, and I went to another game after, and that's when I ran into Kenny Story, Malik's dad, and he had I wanted to ask him for basketball videos of when I was younger, because really I just wanted basketball videos of when I was younger so I could study the swag flow, but I was too afraid to ask him, and I talked about this before in lectures. So then I ended up not asking him, but I played terrible that day. And like I said, at that time, my shot was still messed up. So I'll kind of go over what I was doing with my shot at that time. I hadn't figured things out yet. But, you know, like I said, my dad with the shooting machine, he told me to pick the ball off the rack. I would pick the ball off the rack and I would step and I would put my right foot to the side. But when I was a great shooter, I had my left foot pointed out and my right foot pointed toward the rim like this. Left foot pointed out like this and the right foot toward the rim. But my dad tried to make me go like this with my right foot pointed to the side. So I'm doing this, right? Picking the ball off the rack and doing that. And the reason why is because when I picked the ball off the rack, I was stepping like this and it made me shoot my left foot pointed forward and my right foot going behind my left foot like this. So then my dad was like, well, fix it. We'll go like this and go sideways like you used to. But he told me to do the wrong thing. So then I'm mechanically going sideways. So my dad messed up my shot and the shoot-away machine messed up my shot. So at this time in, 2019, I was picking the ball off the rack. I was shooting, playing with Compton College. I'm not going to go into details about all the details because I don't want to make good shooters think too much. But I was still going like this with my right foot pointed to the side. And I was still not moving into shots correctly. But then I started studying videos a lot. I started like watching videos a lot when I was younger. And I started to fix things. And like one of the things was, I'm not going to go into details, but like one of the things I noticed, I'm not going to go into details. I won't go into too much details because I don't want to make good shooters think. But one of the things I noticed was like I would catch the ball. And like, you know, when I had the shooting machine, I would catch it and I would just go straight forward and do this. And then or like that, right? But before the shooting machine, I noticed like one thing I would do is I would catch it. And when I catch it, I'd step back my right leg. And then like I catch it, step back my right leg, and then put my left foot out like this. And then step forward like this. So rather than catching it and just going straight forward and doing this, I step back my right, catch it, and then go like this. Step back my right, catch it, catch the ball. You know, the ball's right here. Step back, and then my left foot pointed out, and then put forward toward the rim, my right foot toward the rim, and then shoot. And I'm starting doing stuff. I'm not going to go into details because I don't make sure you sink, but there's way more than that. But I started to fix my shot. Okay, this is like, and then I was playing with Compton College, and I started playing a lot better. Because I'm not going to go into details, but I started studying, doing exactly what I was doing in the videos. My friends would drive me to practice, and when my friends would drive me, I would be watching the videos. So I started studying, and I started doing exactly what I saw. I started duplicating exactly what I saw, and it fixed my shot a lot. So then, when I was playing with Compton College, one of my friends took me to one of the Drew League games, and I saw Kenny at the game, and I asked Kenny, hey, do you have basketball videos of when I was younger? And he said, yes, he does. So I was like, okay, good. But then I was going to ask him, but I was too afraid to ask him. Okay? And then I started and I kept on playing with Compton College, but then I sprained my ankle. And I would have been, you know, the coach said I could have, you know, I would have been at least in the top 8 lineup. You know, I was doing really good. I think I could have been a starter and a star. But the thing was, I also wanted to study more videos of when I was younger. And at the time, my shot was still off a little bit. But I was fixed, like I said, I was fixing it a lot because I was studying the videos and seeing what I did when I was considered the best shooter in the country. And I started duplicating things exactly. And I noticed that it became even more clear to me that with the shoot-away machine, it prevented me from shooting good. It prevented me from doing what good shooters do. But then now it's like very clear. But I'm doing things that I couldn't do with the shoot-away machine, and it fixed my shot a lot. But I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to make good shooters think. But then, so like I said, I was continuing to study with my grandpa. My grandpa was happy that I was playing basketball because he thought I was, you know, now partaking in the synergy of the universe. But then, you know, I sprained my ankle. But then I called my grandpa and I was like, Grandpa, can I stay with you in Washington? Because I quit basketball. My grandpa was like, okay, you can stay with me in Washington. So I drove up to Washington, and this was the exact same time that the pandemic hit. And I'll get to what occurred in Washington next lecture, but yeah, I'll get to that.